Yes, good.
I'm sorry.
One second. So Maha is an educational consultant, teacher trainer, and founder, CEO of Teaching ESL Hub, formerly Maha ESL Community. She's also the newsletter editor for IP, SEN, IATEFL SIG. She was nominated for Lead 50/50 Women in International Education Award for her work as an academic director. She has presented in a number of international conferences, and she had a number of papers published on IATEFL Voices, and a new contribution to Bloom's Taxonomy in HEIS International TESOL newsletter, and she's also a blogger. Welcome, Maha, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and sorry for the interruption and for this mix, because I'm going to present something about digital tools again for assessment in 2 hours. That's why I've mixed both of them. I'm terribly sorry. So again, I get here back to the idea of task-based story writing. So I would like to ask you to join me in writing a few stories, if you'd like to, in the next few minutes. Here first, I'm going to deal with the idea of what are the most important elements of a story. Can you put them in the chat, please? The most important elements of the story. Thank you very much, Hai. What are the most important elements of the story? The twist? Sure, but let's speak about the main elements first. Yes. Can you guess? Setting, purpose, yes, that's great, yes. Engagement, let's keep engagement, characters, yes, very good. Any other? Meaning, form, setting, okay, that's great. The plot, that's very interesting. Dramatic question, okay, we'll deal with this. John, okay, that's great, thank you very much. So the most important elements of the story are, or the main elements are the title of the story, the writer, the characters, the setting, the problem and the solution, the main simple ones. But let me ask you also, what are the main divisions or categories of a story? Can you guess main categories of a story? Maybe you have mentioned 1 or 2 of them while you were answering the first question. Yes, what are the main divisions or categories of a story? I have the question already here on the screen. Before that, Nancy, the start. So let's say the beginning of the story, yes, the middle and the end, exactly, that's it. So we have 3 main divisions for the stories, for any story, which is the beginning, middle, and end. And this is what we are mainly concerned with when we deal with storytelling with our students. Sometimes they enjoy the story, but when you tell them about, you ask them about different parts of the story, they can tell you bits and pieces here and there, but they don't tell you, they cannot tell you exactly how did the story start, how did it go on until we got to the climax, and how did it end. How can we overcome this with our students, whether face-to-face or digitally? Let's take a look over here. Do you know the story of Little Red Riding Hood? Are you familiar with it? Are you familiar with the story of Little Red Riding Hood? Okay, that's great. Hi, you are familiar with it. Let's listen to this 2-minute video. It's a very short one, and I would like you, after we finish this very short, simple video, to help me fill in this what we call matrix. We call it type of story elements matrix. I would like you to take a note of the title, the setting, the characters, point of view, problem, and solution. So I will get back to the story. We'll do it in 2 minutes. It's very simple, very easy.
I'm afraid we're not getting very good audio from the video. We are hearing it, but the sound is a bit distorted because of bandwidth. Can you explain a little bit about it and perhaps mute it while it's running?
Can I put the headphones once more?
No, could you perhaps let it run and then explain a little bit about it, but mute it because the audio is very bad.
The audio, yes, it's not clear, but the words are
keep
already
it running.
written.
Keep it running silently, if okay. Turn down the volume of the video because it's very cute, and then you can explain a little bit about it. Can you mute the video? On the right hand side, there's a mute button.
Oh. Right.
On the right hand side, at the bar at the bottom.
Yes.
At the bottom on the right hand side, there's a mute button. At the bar.
Yes. This is what you mean?
So we hear you fine again. Perhaps if you could let it run and explain a bit. No, you haven't muted for some reason. It's we don't hear a single word of the video. It's just a mumble jumble of words. We don't even recognize the words it's spoken. I'm not sure why, but
okay. So
if you could mute the video, please.
Yeah.
Can you mute it on the right hand side of the bar? At the bottom right hand side, there's a little speaker icon.
For the video
no, right, the other side.
Oh,
so at the end, yes, that's it. There's a speaker icon at the end.
Yes, yes. So can you hear me well? You can hear me well.
We can hear you fine, yes.
Okay, so this is the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Again, as you can see over here, Little Red Riding Hood, her mother gave her some cakes to take to her grandmother. And while she was going to her grandmother, she met the wolf. And she told the wolf that she has a grandmother and she is living behind the trees and that she's going to take her some cakes because her grandmother is sick. So the wolf left her and went very quickly to her grandmother's house, and he ate her grandmother and he slept in her bed. When Little Red Riding Hood came in, she looked at the wolf and she was so much surprised, and she asked him, "Granny, what big eyes do you have? All the better to see with," said the wolf. "Granny, what big nose, what big ears do you have?" So he told her, "All the better to hear you with." And then, "Granny, what big nose do you have? All the better to smell you with," said the wolf. She was still surprised and she said, "Granny, what big teeth do you have?" He said, "All the better to eat you with." And he jumped out of the bed and tried to attack her and eat her. So she went screaming, but there was a woodcutter nearby, and this woodcutter heard the loud scream and ran to the house to help her. When he went there, he hit the wolf over on the head, and the wolf opened his mouth, and her grandmother came out, jumped out. And then the wolf ran away, and Little Red Riding Hood never saw the wolf again. So this is the simple story of Little Red Riding Hood. So what's the title of the story over here? What's the title of the story? What's the title of the story? Yeah, Little Red Riding Hood. Thank you. What's the setting? What's the setting? Yes, sure. Forest or the wood. Yes, that would be great. Can we say that the setting is just the forest or the wood? Can we add something different? Do you have any suggestion for a different setting other than the forest or the wood? Any suggestions? Can we say the grandmother's house? Some students can say that. What about the characters? How many characters do we have? How many characters do we have? Because we don't have time to write all the characters in here. Any answers? How many characters are here? 3 characters. We have Little Red Riding Hood, we have the wolf, we have the woodcutter, and we have the mother. We have her mother as well. So we have about 4 characters, and grandma, of course. We have 5 characters. There are people and animals in the story as characters. Yes, yes, this is very good point of view. Our team, yes, our team. Yes, because this is very important. Here we, when we deal with storytelling, we deal with different points of view of character of students. So the students can see different stories from different points of view. Let's leave this idea of point of view and move to the problem. Was there a problem in the story? Was there a problem in the story? Was there a problem? The wolf will eat her, but she was a bit silly to tell the wolf where she was going. Kirsty, yes, that's right. Thank you. Yes, this is very important because there is a part which was not clear in the story at the beginning, that her mother told her not to speak to strangers. So she spoke to the stranger, which is the wolf here, and that caused the problem. Is there a solution? The only solution that we have is that the woodcutter the problem in the story was that Elizabeth's grandmother was sick, and Elvis was sent to bring her goodies to make her feel better. That's a good point. See, we have different people with different points of view, and this is what we usually expect to have in our classes. And then when we come to the point of view over here, we can discuss the message behind the story. Was that we can discuss the idea that Christy mentioned, that she was silly to speak to a stranger grandmother's words, and we can use the other point, which is which was mentioned by Agartine here, that she cared about her grandmother and she wanted to help her to make her feel better. So here we have 2 different points of view. We have, maybe we can mention more than one, and we can discuss them as part of the analysis and evaluation of the story to go if we need to mention the 6 steps of Bloom's taxonomy. So this is what we call over here the narrative story elements matrix, which you can use in your class before you get into the storytelling, or ask them to watch the story or to discuss the story and so on. And after that, so here with this matrix, we discuss the 5 elements of the main elements of the story that we discussed at the beginning. And then we can use a graphic organizer to discuss the main categories of the story, the beginning, the middle, and end. So how can we use these to develop the writing skill of the students? While we ask the students to watch the video, we can ask them to pick out 5 nouns and 5 verbs. And then we can ask the students, when we come to this point and they write what happened at the beginning of the story, what happened in the middle of the story, and what happened at the end of the story, we can simply ask them and come here and ask them, please put the words that can be found between the beginning and the middle of the story. And then what are the words that are common between the middle and the end of the story? What are the words that are common between the end and the beginning of the story? Students are going to start focusing on the grammar that you have already introduced to them through the story. You have told them before this vocabulary and this grammar, maybe they are familiar with it, but you want to develop the writing skill. So one of the ways of developing the writing skill is to ask them or help them to pick out the words and concentrate on them while they are working, and at the same time realize the different parts of the story. So we can have the words in here, set in here, and in addition to the information of the story, and then you can ask them, divide them into groups. You can divide them into groups and ask them to rewrite the story together again and present it in different ways. So this is one of the interesting ideas. This is a graphic organizer. You can use other graphic organizers like these ones. You can use this story map over here. Again, it has a setting, time and place, characters, problem, plot, events, resolution. This can be used with even much advanced students. Here we have a different format, setting, where and when, major and minor characters, plot or problem divided into events, and then the outcome. So here we have different kinds of graphic organizers that can help students with different levels develop their writing skills. The most difficult point about or concerned about developing the writing skills is that the students do not have clear ideas or clear categories of what they would like to express. We give them the idea of introduction, body, and a conclusion, but at the same time they need more help with how to put these into different categories, how to think while they are writing in order to help them to be able to realize how to divide their own piece of writing into different paragraphs, how to divide the ideas. Sometimes they get practiced to write introductions or write conclusions in order to be able to develop their own writing, move from simple English sentences into much better complicated sentences with higher vocabulary and more sophisticated vocabulary and more highly structured sentences. Here we have also two different kinds of graphic organizers again. This one can start with the details and then they move on to the most important point of the story, or if we want have a more complicated story which has lots of problems, you can say possible problems, and they can think of possible solutions, not only what they have found out in the story. And a very important point to keep in mind, please, that when you show the student story and you are going to use it in writing, please ask them to retell the story first, whether you are dealing with youngsters or teens or even adult students or even at the university. You have to ask them to retell the story first, because this shows you how far they have grasped the info, and then it's going to be much clearer for them how to get through the graphic organizer. A very interesting tool as well is the thinking maps. You can use it even with university students. University students, we have maps, these thinking maps, when map over the do this kind of thinking map and then discuss it. Why did you choose the thinking map? We have this one which is called the bubble map. This bubble map is I'm sorry, this bubble map, you put them in, the students can put the main idea over here in the middle, and then they can add developments that happen. They can add even another circle which shows what happened later on. The tree map, you have the main idea. Main idea is divided into, for example, the story that as the one we are divided into characters, what happened with each character. That can be one way. Another one is the bubble map, main idea divided into ideas. We call it bubble map of spider one. Double bubble, you have a main idea, and out of the main idea, you get another one, and this one is divided into others and so on. And then you have the flow map. It's a sequence. It's very suitable for story. What happened first, second, next, and then after that, we have the multi-flow map. we take more complicated texts and opposite ideas, what we call here analogous cause and effect. Something happened. Why did it happen? Something happened. What do you expect is going to happen? So I have tried these thinking maps with my younger students, with my trainee teachers, with my students at university, and it worked greatly. It helped them to organize their way of thinking, and when they sit down to start writing a summary about a story or an article that they have read, it makes a great difference for them, because you help them to focus on the information, organize it, and plus you give them the tools, which are the vocabulary and um, the vocabulary and the grammar elements that they are going to use as well. Take a look at this one. I know that I may be stepping on time now, that this is one of the bubble maps over here. You can ask the students, put the story here. For example, put the nouns that they found out, put the verbs that they found out. So it's kind of concentration for them. So when they start writing, they have to take a look back at these words and start thinking what they are going to use. For example, with my university students, I ask them to use conjunctions in the writing. So you can ask them to think, make another circle and think, when you start writing, what conjunctions are you going to use? So you can develop the kind of storytelling and writing with the students. You are going to divide your students into groups, so that's task-based, and then give them something to do, think about, and then to present. So that's a mix between developing the writing skill and the task-based at the same time. So the point that we usually follow with this sequence of the sequence of steps that I usually follow with, when I deal with storytelling and use it as task for writing, we think of a story, or we read a story, or we see a video of a story, choose a number of words, fill in the story matrix, fill in a graphic organizer, write the story, and make a cover. It would be great if you can divide the students into groups and ask each one of them to write the story, make a cover for it, and then they can present it later on. And it's very important to present at every step. To sum up, task-based learning has the advantage of getting students to use their skills at their current level. Developing language through its use, it has the advantage of placing focus on students towards achieving a goal. So they have a skill to develop, they can use tools, and they have a goal, and they use the language as a tool in order to develop the writing skill. These are references for very interesting graphic organizers that can be used online. You can go over there, you can make your own graphic organizer online. Very interesting tools with different colors and different templates that you can develop, help you to develop your own graphic organizers. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm sorry, I've already stepped over time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maha. I was blown away actually of your presentation and Suryadi. Great ideas, and I've learned a lot. I don't know if we have time for questions. Like we can, I think Heike, we can take questions, right?
I'm afraid not.
Yeah.
I'm
okay.
afraid not. So sorry. Maha, you have a big fan club on YouTube. They are cheering away, and oh, I would like this matrix, and where can we get this? Yeah. And you have a big fan club around the world. You do.
Thank you. Thank you very much for them. I'm so happy that they like the idea. And if you have any questions, if you want the PowerPoint, you are most welcome to write to me. And you can get on the page, even and inbox me. You are most welcome.
We will find you online.
Yeah.
Very much.
Okay. So that ends our session, our symposium today. Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you for having us. Heike, would you like to take from there?
Oh, I will definitely put this session as my all-time favorite. I was awestruck, honestly. I mean, I expected a lot because I know you, Amani, but this group that you put together and how what everybody presented, unbelievable. We will promote that, hopefully, worldwide. People have to see this, have to hear this. Honestly, that is so amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely blown away by it.
Thank you so much.
Maha, thank you so much. Amani, thank you so much for your hard
You're
work,
welcome.
everyone.